Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gail Carson, that's Gayle, Gail Carson 13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter.
Hi, everybody. I have a delightful guest for you today. As a matter of fact, when I went on her website, I was fascinated with all the things that she designs. So after 14 years of designing prints for the fashion industry, under her To the Trade print studio, Print Fresh Studio, she took the leap to creating her own lifestyle collection. Print Fresh is a collection of sleepwear, stationery, and gift products aligned with Amy's creative vision and is inspired by plants, animals, home decor, and a penchant for the 1970s hippie and surf culture. Her collection is a reflection of those loves and passions. She's an alumnus of the Rhode Island School of Design with a degree in textile, lives on a vineyard with her husband. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? And her business partner, their 2 children, and their rescue pup, Mimo. I'm glad you got a rescue pup, Amy. I'm a big animal lover. So welcome to the show and Women in Business.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think your designs, I went on your site, and they are delightful. And, you know, someone who doesn't have the ability to design anything, I'm always appreciative of someone who, you know, has this creativity and can do all of this. So how did you get into textiles and fashion? Were you always drawn to it?
Yeah, I have always loved fashion. I always hoped to be a fashion designer when I grew up. And I grew up in a really small town in Pennsylvania and was always looking at fashion magazines, whatever I could find at the grocery store, whether it was Sassy Magazine or 17. And I was just always so obsessed with fashion. And textiles was something I didn't realize until I got to college that I could study. And once I got there and realized that that was a profession in itself, I was so excited. And that's kind of where I focused my career.
That's so interesting. You know, I read those same magazines, but I read them. I was in the modeling business before I got into all my other businesses. And, you know, of course, fashion was very big as part of that. And I always did fashion shows and things like that. But I never did it in the design or textile world. I always did it in the glamour and fashion world. So the fact that, you know, isn't that funny that we read the same magazines, but had totally different impressions from them. So where did the inspiration of your brand come from? And because you created this new lifestyle collection, I mean, did the pandemic have anything to do with that?
Well, we have been working on some things prior to the pandemic. So we started the brand about 4 years ago. And we really started as a stationery brand. So we were making journals and planners and some items like that. And it really was just a starting place. We knew that we wanted to do something with wearables or something with home decor, but we needed a place because we were self-funding our business. We needed a place that we could kind of start small and kind of work our way up with that. And about a year before the pandemic, I had started working through some ideas for pajamas. And when I got to India, to our factory, I started working on the prototypes there, and we just saw it, and it just looked so good. So it was a long process. Most things in fashion take sometimes almost a year to turn around. So the timing kind of worked out. We had some time to perfect things. And then we really started investing in the pajamas right around the time that we went into shutdown.
Well, you know, isn't it interesting that usually when we Christmas is the greatest time for pajamas. You see everybody in their, you know, the mother, the father, the kids, and sometimes even the cat and the dog in the same kind of pajamas, which I think is adorable. So did you always want to go into business, or was this something that just kind of happened?
Into this particular business, or just like having a business in general?
Yeah, I always knew that I would be an entrepreneur. I always knew that I could never work for anybody because it just wasn't my style. So I just wondered whether or not that was you at all.
Yeah, I think that I always dreamed of having my own business. My parents both had their own business, and it was just something that I really admired, and I loved the idea that they could pursue different ideas that they had, have some flexibility in their lives. So even though I worked for some big corporations early on, like Urban Outfitters and Free People, I think that I knew that doing my own thing was probably going to be the best fit for me and my personality and my passions.
Wow. Well, that's good. I'm glad you had entrepreneurs for parents, because it was interesting. My mom was a homemaker. My father was a pharmacist, but still I had this drive in me that that's what I wanted to do. So I'm glad that you followed your path, because you're doing wonderful things. So who has been your greatest inspiration, and what is it like working with your husband as a business partner? I know sometimes it's difficult, and but I'm wondering how I guess you have different duties. I know that the only business my husband and I worked in together was real estate. I did the financing and he did the construction. But if he had ever been in my business, or if I had ever been in business, we probably would have killed each other. So how is it working with you and your hubby?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. We've been doing different businesses together for a while. So we have a little bit of a history of working together. I used to have a t-shirt line, and we worked on that together, and that was very small. And I think that that's where we kind of realized we enjoyed working together. Then we did some real estate together. But that's something where we had very different responsibilities. I handled more of the marketing and the branding, and he handled more of the construction side of things. And
fantastic.
Yeah, and then we worked with a print studio together. So it's been a long time. The whole time that we've been together as a couple, we've been working on some sort of business together. So this is kind of one of many that we've done together. But it's definitely,
you're still married, which is the important thing.
I know. Yeah, I think we've beaten the odds with being married, having kids, and having the business. But I really do enjoy working with my spouse, because I feel like he's always so invested. He'll talk to me about business anytime if something's on my mind. So it's nice to have somebody who's completely supportive, be my partner in these things.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. So what has been your biggest learning experience as a business owner? I would assume that there's been a lot of things this past year, that you never thought you'd have to deal with. So tell me, what has really been your biggest learning experience?
I mean, there's been a lot this year for sure. I would say, I think that in reflecting on how things have gone, I think developing a unique product has been like the most important thing I've learned through all of this. Right around the time where, I guess it was around June, I used to have a clothing line as well, like a line of dresses, and we had to shut that down because it just didn't make sense anymore. And when I look back at that product line, I think that the product wasn't particularly unique at a glance. Like when you got up close, there were beautiful details and stitching and all of these special things. But I think that what I've learned is that with our pajamas, we have kind of a look that really catches your attention. And people had always given me the advice like, oh, you need to be able to see it across the room and recognize it as your brand. And it just never made sense to me. I'm like, how do you do that? How do you plan for that? And I think somehow on a really subconscious level, the pajamas kind of became that. I don't know if it was just the combination of the unusual patterns, the colors, the fabrics, but somehow all of that came together in a very recognizable look. And that's just kind of something that I always tried to figure out, but somehow it just happened with this one.
Don't you think that with everybody staying at home, that leisure wear and pajamas and that kind of thing have really taken on a new life of their own. I know that I laugh. I've got gorgeous clothes. I've got gorgeous jewelry. And I can tell you, I have been in a shirt, and leggings for almost a year now. So it's it to me is such a difference. So have you seen an uptake in your sales because of the climate that we're in?
Exactly. Yes. In March, we really started to see an increase. And I think that there were a lot of things that were coming together. We had new products. We had tried some new things with marketing, but just everyone is dressing differently now. And yeah, I'm the same way. I have all these beautiful dresses just waiting in my closet. But I think that the pajamas, it was definitely good timing. I think everybody is wearing sleepwear and loungewear at home in a way that we've never done before. And I think the pajamas are a nice way to kind of offer up some self-care for those of us that used to go get facials or go out with friends. You just have to find a different way to take care of yourself and have a little bit of retail therapy. And I think that, the pajamas offer a fun way to get dressed at home and still be comfortable and look great on a video call or when you're chatting with your friends or family. And I think it just kind of
I
the day
agree
a
with
little
you.
bit.
I just can't believe how some people come on camera, especially professional people. Just is amazing to me. But what would you say is your biggest accomplishment and your biggest failure?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to my biggest failure, I think that there were a lot this year for sure. And I think that having to shut down my textile design studio that I had been doing, the one where we were selling prints to the fashion industry, I think that for me is definitely my biggest failure. It was a business that just kept on getting harder and harder each year, and we kept on trying to make it work and preserve jobs on our team. And just it got so incredibly challenging once we had to shut down the business and couldn't go to New York or Los Angeles anymore to sell patterns. And we essentially had to close it overnight after growing that business for 14 years. And I think that
Wow.
was hard.
Yeah, that's very disheartening because I know you probably had developed such a great love for textiles, because that's really an unusual business. I mean, there are certainly people that go into it, but not a lot of people think about textiles, So I think that's, that has got to be a kind of a punch in the gut. So what is the biggest success?
Yeah, on the flip side of that, I think that our ability to work with our small team that was still with us and to pivot that business and the product and kind of the sense of pattern into a product that works right now. It was definitely scary and certainly challenging. We had so many challenges to making it a success. We had to move all of our inventory down to the house that we had moved to. My daughter was helping me pack and ship pajamas at our kitchen counter, but we were able to pull it together, and then we're able to grow our business 500% over last year.
Oh, wow. Wow, that is a real success. That's fantastic. So what are your brand's biggest values, goals, and why? And let me ask you, how old are your kids?
They're 7 and 9.
Are they involved at all? Do they get, sometimes parents bring their kids in to do little things, and that's how they indoctrinate the kids into the business. Do your kids get involved at all?
They do, especially when school shut down and we didn't really have activities for them and we didn't have childcare. So the best way to keep them occupied was just having them help us out. So I would have my son wrapping our candles with tissue paper and building the boxes for those. My daughter would help me with quality control and checking orders and sealing packages. So we just had to keep everyone busy. And so I hope.
Did they like it? Did they like it?
They do enjoy it. I think that they like being a part of things, and we just try to find different responsibilities that they can help us out with. But it's fun. It keeps us all occupied and busy, and it's been really fun to see their interests.
it's amazing. Kids are, are so resourceful, and they can do so many things, and they're so creative themselves. I mean, I'm sure they give you suggestions. You may want some and you may not want others, but
oh my God, my daughter's
yeah.
she's always suggesting new designs, and she's always saying, have you thought of maybe doing a pattern that has this? And she's always trying to get me off of my computer so that she can sketch some new designs. So it's,
wow,
she's
wonderful.
very, very creative when it comes to fashion design.
Wow. So what's next for you and for Print Fresh?
Well, we had some menswear pajamas that we did for our Christmas delivery, and over the holidays, we were so surprised at how quickly they sold out. And so that's something that we're going to be working on for this year, is offering some different men's styles. So I'm very, very excited about that. And my husband is too. He can wear the product as well.
Yeah. Well, this is great. I mean, are you looking eventually to maybe sell out or be approached by a big company, or are you hoping to build the brand into something that you as a personality will be able to keep going?
It's something that we always discuss. I think that maybe if the right opportunity came across, but we're just having so much fun doing what we're doing right now. I think that it would have to be a really good partner or opportunity for us to consider something different.
Well, that's good to know, because I think, I talk to so many people who are planning an exit, and I'm not planning an exit. I never did plan an exit for anything I did. I just kept doing it. But, what advice would you give to other aspiring female entrepreneurs? Because I'm sure that you ran into some roadblocks. Now, I started in business 61 years ago, and there were not very many women in business. Plus, there was no credit cards, and, it was very difficult. But, I soldiered through. But you're in a time when women are really making their mark, but they still have problems in getting certain things done. So what would your advice be to them?
I think just to be good to yourself. I think it's so easy to be so self-critical, and I think that we all just need to have more compassion for ourselves. I think that, being a working mom, especially during the pandemic, like when so many responsibilities at home can fall on us, I feel like it's so easy to feel like you're not doing a good job or it's never enough. But I think that just trying to accept ourselves as we are and just be kind to ourselves is probably my biggest advice.
And what was the biggest roadblock you ran into as a woman going into her own business?
A lot. I mean, I think that I always feel challenged by figuring out the financing for things, and because I'm really a creative, and that's really where my talents lie. And I think that sometimes I get thrown off by figuring out how to finance it, how to grow it, like how aggressive to be in the business. And I think that those are things that are just, it's hard for me because it's not my area of strength. It's not to say I can't do it, but it's definitely, those areas are really hard for me.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I can see where it would be very difficult to go through some of those issues. So if you had to give one piece of advice to the women who are listening to this show, who are either anticipating going into business because they either don't like their corporate job or they've been downsized, or just someone who said, I'm tired of not doing anything, I want to go into my own business, what would you advise them to do?
I mean, I think that so many things you just have to start. And I know that, like everyone always says that, and it's so hard just to begin. But I think that these days there's so many great resources out there with social media it's such a different world for launching a business. And I think that just beginning and starting an Instagram account or getting a product out there or making something yourself and just beginning, it can be really fulfilling, and you don't need a lot of financing to do it. I think you just have to begin.
Wow. So how will people get in touch with you, Amy? What's the best way to reach you? And I don't know if you'd like to offer a gift. Many of our guests do provide a gift for the listeners. If you don't, that's okay too. But how can people reach you and so forth?
So the best way to keep up with us is following us on Instagram, and our handle there is Print Fresh.
Well, that's easy enough. Print Fresh. That's easy enough. And let me ask you, where is Print Fresh going? Would you say in the next 12 months? What are you concentrating on now?
Yeah, right now we're working on the men's line, and then I'm really interested in pursuing some home products as well. I think that that's something that would just be so beautiful to extend our patterns and embroideries to. So maybe some bedding and pillows, things like that. So those are some of the things that I've been working on.
So the best place to get you is printfresh.com, correct?
Yes.
And what would you suggest they look at first on your website? Anything in particular?
Well, the long pajama sets, those have definitely been our most popular right now. So I think those are wonderful. We have some great robes, and the sleep shirts are also really great.
Yeah, I would think a sleep shirt would be really, really popular. Mm-hmm. And what about, I'm just going to ask you this. I know the answer is probably going to be no, but have you ever thought about doing any of these things for pets?
It is a big discussion around the office. We all are big animal lovers. So we're trying to figure out how to make it work. I think that we have to figure out what sizes, and there's some research to be done there.
Because people are just, they spend oodles. People spend more money on their pets than they do on themselves. So it's a great market. What kind of dog is Mimo?
He is a Chihuahua mix.
Oh boy, so he's a little one.
Yes, he's very small and very feisty.
Yeah. My son believe it or not, this is something to look forward to. My son has a 20-year-old Chihuahua.
Oh, wow.
So you've got a long time to go. And Mimo will give you a lot of inspiration to keep going and doing some other things. So tell us also about this vineyard that you live on.
Right. Well, when we had been looking at this house, we closed on it in December, and we didn't actually realize that there was a vineyard attached to the property. And then it was like a pretty interesting discovery. So it's something that we haven't quite figured out how to master. We have not made any wine yet, but we have all the vines and we've been tending to them. So I think it's something in the next couple of years we're going to explore some wine making.
Isn't that interesting? See, you never know. And then, of course, you can put your label on there with your Print Fresh and get more publicity and so forth and so on. Well, let me ask you, Amy, is there anything that we have not talked about that you think it's important for the people listening to Women in Business need to know that we have not addressed with you?
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about sustainability, and that's one of our really important values as a business. So this year, all of our new products we are launching, and it's 100% GOTS certified organic cotton. So we've made the switch to doing all of our products in organic fibers.
Wow, that's nice. Nice.
But that's something where we were really looking at how we can make the biggest impact in improving the sustainability of our product. And since our pajamas are mostly, fully constructed out of the fabric, we felt like that was the biggest place that we can make an impact. And then the other thing that's incredibly important to us as a business is being size inclusive. So I think that, when you go into most stores, you'll find that usually the offerings are maybe small through large, maybe extra large. And I found that every time I go shopping with my friends, there's not always an equal sizing offering. And so it was important to us to offer a really broad range of sizes. So we go from extra, extra small up to 4X in almost all styles. And we just recently launched 5X and 6X.
Wow. Fantastic. Well, you're certainly inclusive, I should say. And you're certainly, someone who I think it's wonderful what you're doing. Do you think you're ever going to get back to the textiles?
I think that we're just having so much fun doing what we're doing and designing these patterns for the pajamas. I think that this is really our future.
Wow, that's great. Well, I think it's wonderful that you discovered a niche. I think it's wonderful that you are doing what you're doing. I think it's wonderful that you've involved the family. So those of you listening to this out there, don't think that you can't be successful at something that you want to do. There's pains, there's failures, there's successes. People will love you, people will not love you, but it's all worth it if it's something that you want to do. And I think that Amy is certainly a part of it. So remember, if you want to take a look at her beautiful pajamas, her sleepwear, her night things like that, go to Print Fresh, just the way it sounds, PRINTFRESH.com. See what she has to offer. And thanks so much for being with us today, Amy. And for those of you who are listening to me, Gail Carson, go to my website, spunkyoldbroad.com. Have a cup of coffee with me. Have one of my mugs. Go to my SOB Virtual Club on Facebook. Go to my SOB University where I have my programs. And I welcome all of you to help me in what I'm doing with women 50 plus and also the media. Thanks so much, Amy, for being with us, and everybody else, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gailcarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.